If you've ever had a client or a potential client ghost you, you know that there is nothing more frustrating. The thing is, ghosting is gonna happen, but there's also ways to prevent ghosting as well. Today, I'm breaking down 5 instances where a client could ghost you and what you can do to prevent it. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Hey, I'm Tracy and I help photographers stay forever booked out without the hustle. Be sure to grab my free guide outlining my 5 best tips for booking clients without Facebook ads. The first way a potential client might ghost you is by joining your email list but not actually reaching out or following through at all. This is actually very normal, to be honest. Maybe you have a special offer on your website newsletter that encourages them to sign up. For example, mine is $100 off if you download the ultimate guide. Or maybe you just make it really easy to sign up, and a lot of potential clients do, but they just never take action and never book. Or they don't book right away. What you can do is take them through a welcome sequence that entices them to actually sign up, reach out, book a session. It really encourages them to take advantage of that special offer if you have one. Let me show you what mine looks like. So this is my Boudoir welcome sequence. The majority of my clients get on my email list from my free guide. So the first email that they're gonna get is the actual download for the free guide. Now it's just literally they click it, download. If they happen to be a photographer, they'll get put into my photographer sequence and taken out of this one. And I do get a lot of photographers simply because of this YouTube channel, so sometimes that does happen. The second email is how can I help? This one is very high converting. I get a lot of emails, like reply emails from this email specifically. Just clients or potential clients will email me thinking that I actually emailed them, which I mean I did. It was just written early. So sometimes this one will get replies, and so I really definitely, if you're not wanting to have a lot of welcome emails, you don't have to have 5, but I would recommend having 2 or 3. This one is one you cannot skip. This one is more just like about me, about my business, about who I've mentored with and stuff. Basically, you can pull this from your about page on your website. This one, I'm sending them 2 specific blog posts and my Amazon store, my Pinterest board, so that they can actually go check out more about my business and about me. And then this one is basically telling them that I am going to be more or less jumping out of their email inbox, and I'll just be in there every week, like once a week, and then giving them the links to go follow me on social media. Now, if you don't want to write your welcome sequence by yourself, that's totally fine. Check out the TLC welcome sequence in the TLC shop, and I'll link that in the description below. The second way a potential client might ghost you is after they inquire about booking a photography session. I think this is the one most photographers get the most upset about. When it happens, it leaves us wondering, was it our personality, our work, our prices? What was the problem? Maybe we're booked out too far in advance. What is that issue? First of all, I want to address the pricing thing. That is typically the reason a potential client will ghost you. Now, if the first thing that they ask is, what are your prices? I don't want you to think that they're just price shopping. Honestly, this is just a way to start a conversation in most cases. So first things first, don't automatically get offended if someone does ask about pricing. Now, I do have an email that's inside my TLC inquiry and booking email sequence. I'm gonna link that in the description below, but this specific email is called the justification email. I don't think that you need to justify anything, just to be clear, but sometimes potential clients need to be educated a little bit on why we're priced the way we're priced and why we might be a little bit more expensive than they expect. Now, as far as other reasons why a potential client might ghost you, that's where follow-ups come in. I have a few recommendations here. First of all, if they inquire through your contact form, I want you to put a little checkbox that they're required to actually check, and that's going to put them in your booking and email sequence on your email software. If they inquire through your DMs or with an email, follow up 2 times max, asking if they have any questions. Let me show you the easiest way to track. Now, before I get into this, I do want to say that I don't use Instagram for any of my bookings, so that will be a little bit different. But what I want you to know is that you can flag your DMs. So maybe 2 days a week, you go to your flagged folder. Let me first show you how to flag somebody. So we're just going to use my makeup artist. You hit more, edit label, flag, save. So now you've got her flagged. What you would do is choose like 2 days a week, say Tuesday and Thursday maybe, and go in you'll go up here, filter, and go to flagged, and you can see who you need to actually contact. If after the second follow-up they don't answer, you're going to go in and you're going to unflag that person and save that, because after 2 follow-ups, if they haven't booked or if they're ghosting you, it's a lost cause at that point. So I don't want you to waste your time on that person anymore. You only want to follow up with contacts who reach out to you first. I don't want you to cold DM and continuously follow up with those. That's just a really big turnoff and super annoying. I also don't want you to be wasting your time following up with people who have already ghosted you. You need to spend more of your time finding other clients who could potentially book with you instead of wasting your time on lost causes. The third way a potential client might ghost you is after they've reached out and secured a session date, but before they've paid the photography invoice. This used to happen a lot before I switched to my current CRM. Here's my old process. The client would inquire. We would go back and forth several times trying to secure a session date. I would send an invoice and hold the session date for 72 hours while I waited for them to pay the invoice. After they paid, I would send the portrait contract. Where I would lose people is either before paying the session fee or before signing the contract. So I would be following up, asking for either one, and a lot of times I would never hear back. In my old payment software, I have about 25 invoices that were never paid. In 2019, I switched to my current software, which is Acuity Scheduling. I think it's also called Squarespace Scheduling. Now they can secure their session date, pay the invoice, and sign the contract all in one go. So of course, my recommendation is to switch to Acuity. But I understand if you're not ready for that. In that case, I would create a booking sequence to follow up after they've inquired. If you're using HoneyBook or Dubsado or any of the bigger name CRMs, they will have recommendations for follow-ups. But if not, here are my recommendations. Once booked, the session fee should be paid within 24 to 48 hours or less. The more time you give them, the less likely it is that they're actually going to follow through, pay the invoice, and sign the contract. And then you're going to have to go through the steps of canceling the session. I send reminder emails. Make sure that you send reminder emails at 24, 48 hours, and if you go all the way to 72 hours, make sure that you send a 72-hour reminder email as well. Your payment software should do that for you. The portrait contract needs to be signed within 24 hours of paying for the invoice. Nothing is considered booked until the session fee is paid and the contract is signed. Now, the biggest thing I want you to remember is the easier you make this process for your clients, the more likely they are to follow through and go ahead and book the session. Want to book more amazing clients? Then you definitely need to check out my free masterclass, The Booked Out Photographer. In this masterclass, you're going to learn my process for booking amazing clients. Just click the link in the description for more information. The fourth way a potential client might ghost you is after the actual session, but before they choose the photos. That sounds crazy, right? Do they just not want to see their photos? But it does happen. It actually happened to me this fall. This client just got super busy. And the best way to prevent this from happening is by booking her ordering session before she leaves your studio or the session itself. Let's say she reschedules the ordering session but never confirms a date. Then what do? Here are a few recommendations for me. I don't do any sneak peeks of the session whatsoever before the ordering session. And sneak peeks, if you do them, should only be of the photos she purchased at the ordering session. Book the ordering session as soon as you can while she's still excited. And even better, same-day sales are probably the best way to prevent this problem from reoccurring. The fifth way a client might ghost you is after they've chosen the photos and paid a percentage down on their invoice. This actually happens, not very often, but it does. Out of 850 sessions, I've had it happen 8 times. One client's fiance passed away after her ordering session, but before she finished paying for her invoice. She contacted me, she asked if I would cancel her order, and she just didn't want to remember this time in her life. I thought that was totally understandable, and I went ahead and canceled that order. And 5 of the other 7 who ghosted me, that was very early in my business, before I had policies in place. The problem at that point was I was not very clear on my processes and how my policies worked or any of that. Since then, I've learned to lay things out very clearly. I do have payment plans, but nothing is retouched until the session is paid in full. And nothing is ordered until the session is paid in full. Absolutely nothing. Here are my payment plans. I have pay in full, 20% down and 3 or 6 month payment plans, and 50% down and 50% 2 weeks before delivery. I will also do occasional extended payment plans when discussed with the client, and I have to trust her pretty well before I'm actually going to commit to that. I require a client to sign a payment plan contract with 2 forms of payment. Okay, now let's talk about the other 2 who ghosted without payment. Honestly, she did pay a portion, but it took 2 years. And she just slipped through the cracks. She told me she was gonna pay the balance within a month and she just never did. 2 years later, she finally paid it off. And then she booked another session and the same thing happened again. And since then, she has been banned from booking. Some clients just think that the rules don't apply to them and they slip through the cracks. Do your best to cover yourself, but also don't beat yourself up if this happens to you. And that's my ultimate guide for photographers and what to do if a client ghosts you. Be sure to subscribe to get notified on my next video, which is a complete breakdown of my photography business marketing strategy. While you wait for that, check out this other video, the 5 reasons why a wedding photographer should offer boudoir sessions. If this was helpful, let me know and give it a like.